first thing I want to share with us is the fact that leadership is stewardship. Leadership is stewardship. It is not something for us to keep. It's not a position for us to hoard, but it is something for us to steward. To steward means that God expects us to multiply. God expects us to multiply. Pastor Dennis was sharing with us that our God is a God that multiplies things. From the very beginning, when everything that God created, the fruits, the animals, the male and the female, the man and the woman, the whole idea is always to multiply. That's why God does not create a supermarket and all the food for us to eat and then just it. But God gave us things, fruits with seeds in it. Male, female, so that when they mate, they'll produce male and female, and the process will go on. So it is the same for leadership. It is not something for us to hoard. I'm a leader. I've reached the pinnacle of my Christian career. It is a position I hoard more. But everything that God has given to us, He expects us to multiply, to be fruitful, to increase, to reign and to rule with Him. It's never ever for us to just enjoy every single thing. There's this parable, you may be familiar with it. It's called the parable of the talent. There was this guy, he was a manager, and before he went away on a long trip, he asked 3 of his stewards to come to him. To one steward, you're familiar with the story, he gave one talent. Another guy, 2 talent. The last guy, he gave 5 talent. And they said, I'm going to be away for a little while. And then when he came back, the guy with the 5 talent very enthusiastically went to the master. He said, Master, you give me 5 talent. Immediately after you left, what I did was that I put this 5 talent to work. Now here's 5 more. So 5 produced 5. And the master said these classic words, well done. Come on, help me. Good and faithful servants. And then the second guy came, the guy with 2 talent. He too produced 2 more. And he said the same whole story. He said that, when you gave me this 2 talent, when you went away, immediately I put this 2 talent to work. So here's 2 more. Same commendation. Come on, help me. Well done, good and faithful servants. You see, the guy who had 5 produced 5. The guy who had 2 produced 2. They both get the same commendation. It's about faithfulness. It's about fruitfulness. Whatever God has entrusted you, God expects us to produce. And this race is not a race where we compete against one another. It's a race where we mark it against the plan that God has for each and every one of us. The one who had 5, God expects 5 more. The one who had 2, God expects 2 more. And they both received the same commendation. It wasn't the guy who had 5 say, hey, you well done. You are an A-star, good and faithful servant. While the one who had 2 say, well, you are quite good. No, they both had the same commendation, but it was that guy with 1 talent who did nothing about it. It's so interesting, you know, I was sharing in my church, it's so interesting, because when that guy came back with 1 talent, when the master came back, he looked for that place with the place marked X, he dug it out, he blew the dust away and gave it back to the master. He said, I knew that you were a heart's master, so here's the talent. You know what the master replied? The master said, you wicked, lazy servant. You lazy, wicked servant. I mean, to be honest, we don't usually associate these 2 words together. Isn't it true? I mean, wicked, lazy, it's kind of like, wow, is it so serious? In fact, sometimes in our culture, sometimes we tend to kind of say laziness in kind of a cute way, right? You know, sometimes we say, hey, actually, I'm quite smart, no, daddy, mommy, but I'm just a little bit lazy. You know, we talk about that. Oh, this is my daughter. Actually, she's very smart, but just a little bit lazy. We kind of say it in a cute way sometimes. Can you imagine one day that your father will bring you in front of all your relatives? This is my son. He's lazy and he's wicked. Really? So serious? But that's what God views us, because God expects us to reproduce, to multiply. To multiply. It's a serious thing in God's sight. It's not something like kind of like, hey man, you know, if you choose to multiply, wonderful. Kind of like I'm kind of a low-level guy. You want to play at level 5, go ahead. I just want to kind of cruise with my life, with the one and only life that God has given to me. I've chosen to just cruise with it and just do my deal, and then I just go to God, say, God, here's one. I did the best I can. I'll take it or leave it. No, and God says, you wicked, lazy servant, because God views the stewardship of our leadership in a very serious fashion. Of course, at the end of the day, it's not about us trying harder, us working harder. At the end of the day, it's us surrendering to God and allowing God to work in and through us. Can someone say amen? But we've got to come to the point where we realize that leadership is stewardship. With regards to our time, our talent, our treasure, God expects us to multiply. It is the same when it comes to the stewardship of our leadership. Whatever role we are playing, whatever position that God has given to you right now, to steward, not to own, not to hoard, but to steward, God expects us to multiply. The Great Commission tells us, and Jesus was speaking to his disciple. Jesus said, come on, go and make disciples of all nations. So the bottom line is this: a true disciple makes disciple. A true disciple makes disciple. You cannot say that I'm a disciple. How do I know you're a disciple? Because I read the Bible. Wow, that's great. I think reading the Bible is very important. Oh, I'm a disciple because I go to church. Anyone can go to church. I wear a cross. I know the Bible. I sing Christian. So all these things are great. But at the end of the day, a true disciple makes disciple. You see, friends, as Wayne Cordero has always said, we can teach what we know, but we will always reproduce who we are. So if we are true disciples, we will make disciples. Leadership is stewardship. And I am a grateful benefactor of the people who have mentored me.